In this unit, we're looking at units of measure, and in this specific video, we're going to be looking at US measures for length, and we're going to be converting from one unit to another and see how that's done. We'll look at some applications in another video. So first off, what are the basic units of measure? We have inches, feet, and miles, and yards. How do they relate to one another? I think most of them will be familiar. 1 foot is 12 inches. 1 yard is 3 feet. One you might not know is that 1 mile is 5,280 feet. Based on each of those equivalencies, we can set up what we call a conversion fraction, conversion factor, or just simply a ratio, right? What it means is you're just putting one over the other. So I could say if 1 foot equals 12 inches, I could set up a fraction 12 inches over 1 foot, or same thing would be 1 foot over 12 inches. Which one am I going to use in my problem? Well, it depends on what I'm given and what I want to get to. All right, so let me take a look at the next slide. In order to make these conversions, we're going to use something called dimensional analysis. If you've taken chemistry classes, you've probably done this before and not even realized that's what you're doing. It's a method for just converting from one unit of measure to another, and it's using fractions or those ratios or conversion factors or whatever we want to call them. We start with what's given, and then we multiply by that ratio, and we want to cancel out the given units and eventually get to the units that I want. I know there's a lot of words there, so you can read those, but I think it might be helpful to just do a problem and let's see how it works. Okay, so 1 mile is how many yards? Well, if we go back here to our little chart, our little cheat sheet, all we know is that 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. So I can't go directly from yards to miles or miles to yards. I have to do something in between. So I have the second one there that says 1 yard is 3 feet. All right, so let's keep all that in mind and come back to our problem. So we're going to start with what we know, and I have to get my pen. There we go. So I start with 1 mile. And I'm going to put the label there because I want to make sure it cancels. That's my whole goal. And I usually always start it over 1. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply it by one of my ratios, my conversion factors, and I want to get rid of miles. Well, the only conversion factor that I was given back there on that previous page was that 1 mile is equivalent to 5,280 feet. Okay, so the good news is the miles cancel, right? So no more miles, but now my answer's in feet. That's the label that's left. And I want to get my answer into yards. So I'm going to go back and say, well, we had one more conversion factor that was related to feet and yards, and that was that 3 feet is 1 yard. So remember, the rule is you put the label that you want to cancel in the bottom. So I got 1 on top, 1 on bottom, and then hopefully what's left on top is what we want. So I'm going to make sure my feet cancel. Good. So now the only label left is yards. So when I'm looking at this problem, I can say, okay, that means I am going to have to multiply across the top. I'll get 5,280, multiply across the bottom, get 3. So I'm going to grab my little calculator here and do 5,280 divided by 3. And I get 1760. So my final answer here would be 1760, and the units is yards because that's the only label that's left. Now we're going to try a few more here. Practice. Let me get to the next screen. There we go. All right, so I want you to pause this for just a moment and see if you can turn any of these into what we want them to be. What you're going to be using are these conversion factors. All right, so I expect students to know a foot is 12 inches, a yard is 3 feet, a mile is 5,280 feet. So I expect you to know those things. If you need to have a little cheat sheet while you're doing your homework, as you're doing your homework and practicing these, you'll probably memorize it. All right, so those are the factors you want to use, and then you want to solve these 3 problems. So go ahead and pause it for just a moment and see if you can do those. Okay, let's see how we did. So the first one, I've got my work here. I took my 400 yards, and I just put it over 1 so that way everything looks like a fraction. Now I want to get rid of yards, and the one conversion factor that I had was that 3 feet is equivalent to 1 yard. So I put the yards on the bottom so that my labels cancel. That leaves me with feet. But I'm trying to get to miles, so I have to use another conversion factor. In this case, the 1 mile is equivalent to 5,280 feet. Again, I put the feet in the bottom so that it cancels with the feet that I'm trying to get rid of. The only label after I cross off all the pairs, the only label left is miles, and that was what I wanted. So when I get my top part multiplied together, I've got 1,200. Bottom part multiplied together, I have 5,280. So when I do that in my calculator, I got about 2.8 feet. All right, let's check the next one. So the next one, I have 56 inches is how many yards? Now, some of you might remember, hey, I know there's 36 inches in 1 yard, and you could have done this with one conversion factor. Kudos to you. That's great. But in this work here, I've just used the conversion factors that were given to me from the book. So I started with my 56 inches, and I know that there's 12 inches in 1 foot. So now my inches cancel. I put the inches in the bottom. Now I'm in feet. I have to go from feet to yards, so I'll use the next conversion factor of 1 yard is 3 feet. Again, I have 1 foot on top, 1 foot on the bottom. They cancel. That's the whole idea. And so the only thing left is yards. And when I multiply across the top, I get 56, and the bottom I get 36. Doing the division, our final answer would be 1.56 yards. All right, let's see if we can look at this last one. This was the easiest one, actually. We have 1/2 mile, so I put 1/2 over 1 because it's 1/2 mile. So don't turn it into 1 over 2. It's 1/2 on top, 1 on the bottom. And then my conversion factor is 5,280 feet over 1 mile. The miles cancel, and we just multiply the top. 1/2 is the same as 0.5, so you can quickly do that with your calculator. I hope that helps. Go ahead and give your problems a try and let me know if you have any questions.